Mercedes reserve Valtteri Bottas says that he sees 2026 startup squad Cadillac as a very interesting project, one that he can add a lot of value to, and hopes he can get a deal sorted by August. Bottas was last on the grid in 2024 with Sauber, but was dropped for this season and returned to his former home Mercedes as reserve in order to remain razor-sharp for a shot at a 2026 drive. The Finn is now high on Cadillac's shopping list as one of its foundation drivers, and told F1's official podcast Beyond the Grid that there's good reason to be excited about joining.
I hope I'm in a good position, and for me I actually see it very interesting project, something new to Formula One, an American team with a maybe different view to the sport, and for me to, let's say, if I would be there as a driver, would be actually very interesting because you can start from scratch.
Red Bull is hoping its junior Arvid Lindblad can race in F1 before he turns 18 in August, with the FIA to assess a request for an exemption at next week's World Motorsport Council meeting in Macau. It's understood the special request came before the Spanish Grand Prix, where Max Verstappen reached 11 penalty points, putting him just one away from a mandatory one-race ban, with a more likely scenario seeing Lindblad join Racing Bulls to replace Liam Lawson. The FIA's International Sporting Code allows such an exemption, with an update last year that could have enabled Andrea Kimi Antonelli to start earlier in F1, an option Mercedes did not take up. Article 13.1.2 of Appendix L now states, a driver judged to have recently and consistently demonstrated outstanding ability and maturity in single-seater Formula Car competition may be granted a super license at the age of 17 years old. Staying with Red Bull, whose Hangar 7 property at Salzburg Airport, which houses its historic aircraft and F1 cars, reopened last week, following a substantial 6-month-long refresh, and there was a lavish party to celebrate. With the VIPs treated to a greatest hits show of the brand stars and their machinery across drifting, NASCAR, the World Rally Championship, MotoGP featuring legend Dani Pedrosa, and F1, with the reigning world champion Max Verstappen behind the wheel. All of whom took the start for a very special drag race on the airport's runway, with Verstappen eventually taking out the honors. The Dutchman looked very cool and calm, despite being just one penalty point away from a mandatory one-race ban in F1.
I think the cool thing about today is that so many different kind of motorsports came together, or sports in general, and then to do a drag race all together with all these different kind of cars, I think is very cool to witness.
Spanish capital Madrid hyped its 2026 return to the grid last weekend, with favorite son Carlos Sainz heading home on a rare off weekend to take Williams' 2023 car for a spin at the Madrid. The under-construction circuit, built around the IFEMA Conference and Convention Center, also saw runs from other Spaniards, F2's Pepe Marti and F3's Mari Boya, along a 1-kilometer stretch of the track. The Madrid event will be the only European capital on F1's calendar upon its return to the sport after 45 years in 2026, when it will join Barcelona as one of 2 races in Spain for that season. The 5.4-kilometer layout, which was launched in April, is expected to provide a mix of excitement and technical challenges across 57 laps in a 305-kilometer Grand Prix. Staying with Sainz, who says that Williams won't be ready to fight for wins and titles next year, though he'd welcome a step forward into the pack at the front. Williams has already switched its resources over to 2026, with the team happy to sacrifice current performance for a step change. But while Sainz is confident the squad will again become a frontrunner, with the right people in place, led by team boss James Vowles, he says things naturally take more time than expected. It would be fantastic to take another step forward, because that would mean being with the top teams. But my experience at Ferrari also taught me that it's one thing to be in the group, another to actually beat the front runners, he said. Alpine executive advisor Flavio Briatore has expanded on his guarantee the French squad will win races next year, followed by a title charge from 2027, with the Italian dismissing his rivals as nothing special. Alpine has endured yet another tumultuous start to its season, with team boss Oliver Oakes gone and Jack Doohan replaced by Franco Colapinto. His teammate Pierre Gasly has since preached business as usual, and that the headlines don't show the work going on at the factory and in the race team, where he sees the potential to move forward. And Briatore says the championship is a realistic target. If you see the teams in front of us, they're nothing special, he said. It's only people, more committed, less distracted. Aston Martin's Fernando Alonso says the competitiveness of the squad's 2026 car will be a very important factor in whether he continues racing, though motivation will also play a major part. F1's team in green has struggled to perform across the past 2 seasons, following a standout 2023. Alonso's first with Aston Martin, when he took the squad to 8 podiums. But while the ambitious squad now has design guru Adrian Newey as its managing technical partner and incoming Honda works power from 2026, its transition to a frontrunner from next year is far from guaranteed. Alonso, though, says the squad's 2026 car won't solely decide his future, with the Spaniard needing to feel 100% sure before hanging up his helmet for good. I think I need to see how next year starts and how motivated I am, the 43-year-old said. Every year there is a different mood into the season. Mercedes is expecting improved performance this weekend in Montreal, with the circuit Gilles Villeneuve considered a happy hunting ground for the squad, and more upgrades going onto the car. Mercedes hasn't won in Canada since 2019 with Lewis Hamilton, but did make a performance breakthrough there last year with new front wings on both cars that saw George Russell third for the Silver Arrow's first podium for the season. The Brit led home Hamilton. And Mercedes technical director James Allison says there could be more good news this weekend, even if it's not any cooler.
More important than the absolute temperature is just the different nature of the challenge in Montreal. Big braking circuit, a circuit where it's relatively harder to get the front and rear axle at the right temperature relative to one another, and it's a track where we've tended to find our feet relatively well in the past. So I'm looking forward to it. We've got 1 or 2 new bits to take with us, and we'll see how we get on.
Sauber boss Jonathan Wheatley says that the squad is on the right track following a stunning Spanish Grand Prix for the Swiss operation, in which Nico Hülkenberg finished 5th, having passed Ferrari's Lewis Hamilton on the penultimate lap for his and Sauber's first points since the opening round in Australia. But Wheatley told official podcast F1 Nation that the most important part of the standout Spanish result was promise for the future, with correlated performance between Hinwil and the track.
To do that at this track, you know, this is an aero track and always has been. I think it's hugely encouraging, and more than that, you know, it delivered exactly what our tools said it would and in the areas that it said it would, so can't help but sit here tonight feeling like, you know, we're on the right track.
Thanks for watching. To stay up to speed on all things Formula One, make sure you hit the subscribe button.